With Fionna and Cake Season 2 coming out in just 2 weeks, I'm super excited to talk about this little analysis slash discovery I've made within the past few days because I learned something absolutely crazy about the finale of Season 1. In the original ending of Season 1, we see Fionna and Hunter gardening, but as we see at the end, a little tuft of the dandelion goes all the way into the sky. And I personally thought that dandelion could go anywhere and it could lead to some new adventure happening for the next season. That something, that little thing, can make a lot more impact than you would have ever expected, which to me is basically the theme of the entire first season, with Fionna and Cake being kind of like nothing characters, but now becoming these really fleshed out characters through the journey they've been on. Well, would you believe that originally that wasn't supposed to be the ending? The original ending was seen in this color script right here of Huntress Wizard taking care of an injured Finn. This was not at all in the final episode that we got to see. It was cut completely. To me, that's really shocking because that would have been the most obvious, crazy cliffhanger ever and a good bookend to the season in general. We start with Finn in the first 2 episodes and then we end with Finn in the last 2 episodes. It makes perfect sense to me, and it would go to show that Fiona's journey happened alongside this decline in Finn's journey. The rise of Fionna led to the fall of Finn. And we're going to get into that in just a second. Lots of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, as you can see in this little bar right here. And if we reach 20,000 subscribers, I'm getting an Adventure Time tattoo. And I have multiple ideas in mind. So thank you very much. And now let's get right back to the video. You guys probably heard the hero's journey countless times, whether it's from a video or just seeing it in a story or a movie. But I'm going to give you guys a little rundown about the hero's journey because it's a big deal when it comes to analyzing the adventurer archetype. And of course, Finn is the adventurer of Adventure Time. So it's really important when coming to analyze his character. The hero's journey, or the monomyth, uses a lot of examples from ancient Greek and Roman mythology, with Greek mythology's Jason being a good parallel for Finn, especially due to his connection with Medea, who was a witch, and Finn and Huntress Wizard having that connection could easily be seen as a reference to them. But in this case, I'm obviously going to use the witch as a wizard because wizards are essentially the same, and having Finn be not taken out by a wizard in this case, but being assisted by one is a really cool inversion that I think is really interesting. Finn, at this stage of his hero's journey, is nearing his end. Finn doesn't die for an insanely long amount of time, because we know in Together Again, Finn got to live a really long life, which makes a lot of sense and obviously leads to him being seen as such a legendary adventurer when it comes to the history of Ooo. So having Huntress Wizard going on this really daring adventure herself to save him gets me even more intrigued. If this is meant to be an inversion of Simon and Betty's story, with Huntress Wizard sacrificing so much of herself to save Finn, that would make for a really great through line, I think, for season 2. It would be really interesting if they had an earlier stage of what Simon and Betty were doing, with Simon already losing Betty and sacrificing so much to get her back, and it would really connect the themes of the first season with connection after loss and being able to grow after something really tragic happens, being open to something new or remembering something old and not being stuck in the past. I think that could be a really interesting way to develop not just Huntress Wizard, but maybe even characters like Finn, who is in himself really stuck in the past, with him ruminating over losing Jake. Is he going to be open not just to accepting something new from Huntress Wizard, but completely new people, completely new versions of himself, of all people, and possibly, because they were made by Prismo, someone really close to Jake, how is he going to react to seeing them? But the most important thing I want to discuss right here is the connection of Fionna and Finn. Fionna is significantly earlier on in her hero's journey than Finn is. Finn is obviously in a really dark place in the story and has been an adventurer and a hero for years at this point. But Fionna, especially in season 1, really struggled being a hero a lot of the time. So I'm really intrigued to see how she reacts to being on this journey, not for her own life and her own universe. Seeing Fionna get further in the hero's journey, I think would just be so cool. One of the main thoughts I had before going into season 2 is how exactly is Fionna going to react to her being the essential savior of her entire world? Are people going to view her differently, or is she going to view herself differently, putting herself up to these crazy high standards, even in comparison to someone she's never met, like Finn? How exactly is she going to feel? And I'm really lucky I delayed this video because some of the stuff we got in the trailer actually emphasizes these exact thoughts I had. It seems like a lot of the season is going to focus on Fionna and her own self-worth, which is really cool because the first season obviously focused on Simon and his self-worth. And with Fionna being a lot more fleshed out as a character, it works so well. She literally saved the entire world, but people might not treat her the right way. We have this really cool scene here where I assume she's walking home from a date and she's really struggling, thinking about how she's supposed to be a hero and she feels like she's not doing enough for the people in her life or doing something important to save people. I'm really happy that this is a plot point that's being emphasized. What's really cool is that we're actually seeing Finn and Fionna working together. He could be training her in this dungeon area, or they could be trying to escape this dungeon area together, which is insane because we're seeing them meet, which is just the coolest thing ever. Finn and Fionna together in the same frame at the same time doing something. It's crazy. And not just Finn and Fionna. We have Farm World Finn back as well, which is also really cool because both Farm World Finn and Fionna were only existing because of the Finn Mertens that we followed throughout the original series. So to me, this is just so sick, really gratifying seeing all these characters come together. It feels like genuinely like some fan fiction stuff that would have existed. It is actually insane to see all these versions of Finn together. Hopefully, with Farm World Finn being a plot relevant character once again, we could even delve into his psyche a little bit. Obviously, we did in the first season with him talking about all the struggles he had to go through after abandoning the crown and having these voices in his head, where he is off of this dark path and now has a family and all that. Farm World Finn obviously has overcome these struggles for the most part and come out a better man. But Finn, maybe he's starting to experience some of these troubles internally, with him dealing with the ruminating feelings of Jake being gone for such a long time and him really focusing on helping others to avoid his own internal struggles. How's he going to feel now that his internal struggles are more external and people are more worried about him than ever before? I think there's a lot to talk about here, but most importantly, obviously, is our main character, Fionna. Fionna's hero's journey is going to go through some ups and a lot of downs. Mostly downs because of the way that people treat her differently. Even though she saved the entire world, people still treat her like she's nothing. The second that she's done being a hero and going on this crazy adventure, she has to deal with some menial crap. You got to get all these groceries from the store. Now I'm going to go on a date. You know, it's so realistic. Adventure doesn't just come at you like, you got to come with us or you're all going to die. You know, that just doesn't happen all the time. And Adventure Time goes through this as well in the original series, where not every episode is something absolutely crazy or insane. You know, not every episode is going to be fighting the Lich or stopping Ice King from some crazy plan. A lot of the episodes are just chill, fun little moments, and people could call that filler because a lot of people do, but it's just life. People live their lives and not everything is always crazy. I think it's really cool that we're seeing Fionna more in her element and having to readjust to being in her element versus her going on some crazy adventure somewhere completely unknown to her. That's really my thoughts on the hero's journey, Fionna on the rise and Finn on the decline. I'm really curious what you all think, so please let me know down below, and I hope to see you all again. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and have a good one.